Hey, it's Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature. I have a weak connection, surprise, surprise, something that really gets me irritable and angry. But yeah, I've had a couple of conversations with myself this week about where is this deep-seated rage that's bubbling up inside me and actually giving me a bit of reflux, if I'm honest with myself, a bit of heartburn this week coming from, and how can I transmute it in a bigger and more meaningful way so that I don't have to keep repeating these patterns over and over again. So if you can relate to feeling angry at the moment, or if you can relate to ever just being sitting around, minding your own business, and then you get a phone call or a text that sends you into an emotional tsunami. Suddenly your life, which you thought was just merrily going along, we talked about rowing your boat into down the rabbit hole yesterday. But yeah, just cruising along, actually enjoying life, enjoying the peace and the calm. And one minute everything's fine, and the next minute you're just feeling like you're in this total emotional overdrive, and you are so upset or angry or unclear or sad, and it just sort of spirals you into this negative emotional funk. Or maybe you can relate to like listening to the radio and a song plays that reminds you of your first heartbreak, and you cry for like the first time in days. Or the silliest things actually have been making me cry lately. And it's really interesting. I'm so grateful that I have this work and I get to help people heal from their trauma, by getting to the root cause of, what are these triggers? What is it that's ready to come through so that I can actually enjoy anger? I always say to my clients, best way to move through anger is to get angry and enjoy angry and say, wow, that was the best temper tantrum I have had, and it was an Oscar winning performance, and wow, where were the cameras, where was the crowd? But to just really celebrate the fact that you are releasing anger in a healthy way, and then being able to go deep into that fertile listening space of the heart to actually ask, what really just happened here? What happened, where am I feeling this in my body? Remember your emotional energy, that you set in motion, because a connection, those neuronets that I've spoken about in previous blogs, has just been made on some part of your nervous system that perhaps has been switched on in this state of hyperarousal or hypervigilance. And it sparked something. It sparked something in you that's ready to heal. And we always have choice in how we change that. So when I was first when I first started getting into healing myself and healing from a lifetime of feeling wrong, a lifetime of feeling depressed, I remember speaking to my mentors, my therapists, as that I had all these black holes, especially in my early childhood. Later on, traumatic events that probably weren't traumatic for somebody else, in the story of my teenage years, of being alienated and bullied at school, of feeling so separate and so alone, and that I just didn't fit anywhere, as big black holes. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of money because I didn't know what I know now about it, and I didn't know that there was an easier way to access that information without going back into the trauma, without having to go into regression therapy and relive all these horrendous events. And remembering too that we're not talking about the big events like divorce or abuse, physical or sexual abuse, that we may have experienced as a child, but the more insidious kind of long-standing, prolonged trauma, where perhaps you were called stupid every day of your life, or fat, or told that you would never amount to anything. That's the kind of trauma that we eventually get so desensitized to that we don't even remember the event. We don't even remember the story. It just becomes so ingrained in our subconscious, in the way that we dialogue to ourselves, in the way that we treat ourselves, and then put out this resonance to attract people that are going to match that energy and give us more of what we don't want, to validate that reality of us that we are never going to amount to anything, or that we're stupid, or whatever it is for you. And yeah, so how many of you that are listening to this can actually relate to having emotional black holes that, you know, were so moments that were so hurtful or so traumatic for you, even though they may have seemed like nothing to other people, that you blacked it out. You literally created a black hole that swallowed you up. And now that we're moving into this 5D reality of change, of a new consciousness, in a way where we get to be our own medicine. We literally get to heal ourselves from the inside out, because we're willing to go into these old black holes and find the source, the trigger, or the trauma, and heal because of the power of the parable. So not having to buy into the story or tell a story other than from a place of quiet observer, so that you can access it and identify and name it, and then through releasing it, reset a neural pathway in your brain so that you can bring in new energies of change and heal from those old woundings. And emotional black holes. Hi, Asa. Hi, Allison. Yeah, spot on. Good. Yeah, you know, we've all suffered at some part of our life from these ingrained subconscious programs that someone might have been joking or just making fun because they thought it was funny to tease you, or to, you know, I've even seen this with babies where, you know, it's funny, we're tickling them and they're giggling and they're giggling and they're giggling, and we think it's cute, and we think that they're so funny and they're making these lovely little giggling noises. But often the subtle cue there that I see sometimes in watching these babies is that there is a place in that experience that they check out. Their whole little nervous system gets so overwhelmed, and they don't really have any control. Remember, when you're a baby, you have no way to move away from whatever that is that turns from being funny or joyful into something that you feel totally out of control with. So what do? We check out. And contrary to what you may think, black holes are not places where we have no emotional energy. They're places in our emotional body, in our etheric body. Those little black holes in the universe where we have a huge concentration, just like we have a huge concentration of nerve endings in receptors, like in our TMJs, in the tips of our fingers, on the tip of our tongue. We have them all over our body, and they're dense. They're very dense energy reservoirs which contain all of these unhealed emotional traumas from places in our lives, and sometimes other lifetimes, that we never had access to, or we never had the support to make some sense out of no sense, right? So someone telling you that it's nonsense, that there's nothing to be scared of, is another form of unkindness or abuse that we don't really label as abuse, because it's most of the time coming from the people that love us the most. So when these get trapped, and they get trapped over a long period of time, all these, what I call cuts, these chronic, unpredictable, toxic stresses, that's when we start to get into a place where our nervous system, our adrenals burn out, and we just go into either shutdown, that sort of lemming state, zombie state of constantly being on the nervous system. And a lot of these painful emotional memories that represent your biggest emotional black holes become the force that drives you towards the very thing that you actually don't want to create in your life. And if we're lucky, and this is where in Chinese medicine all emotions are equal, they're all they all play this beautiful dance in our body mind to keep us in flow, to move things out of our way. That's what anger is there to do, to move people and things out of our way to keep our physical body alive. So this is about having clear boundaries, and you cannot access that when you're living from the story, from the emotional memories, right? These big black holes. And they actually end up running your life. That's where trauma ends up running your life. And they drain your energy away from everything that is joy and bliss and pleasure, because we always focus on the negative rather than on the positive. Hey Violet, nice to see you here. Hi Yvonne. Yeah. So I'm interested to know, some of you that are listening to me ramble on, you know, what are some of the questions that you'd like to know about how to heal these emotional black holes in a way that's going to be a catalyst for you to move in an inspired action toward the things that you want, rather than repeating these negative patterns of abuse, these negative cycles that we find that no matter what we do, we still go back to the trauma. And these are the way that people trigger us, and things trigger us, and events trigger us. Because emotional black holes, in my awareness, work in two ways. For one, they suck in energy as we try to find the antidote for the pain. And they alter our energy body so that all of our energy mirrors their energy. I don't even know if I'm making sense. This is coming through so quickly. But yeah, does that make sense to you? That one way that we do it is that we start to actually go out looking for a mirror, a biomimetic mimicking system that makes us right about why, the reason and justification why we are giving ourselves permission to abuse ourselves or to abuse other people. And most of the time we do that, don't we, with people that love us the most, because it's a safe place to be. And we can become a demon bitch from hell. I could have ripped my partner's head off, my daughter's head off yesterday. There was just so much anger coming up, and it was from something really, really silly that actually had no context to my life now. And I was able to do some work on that myself. So, you know, just know that the greater the trauma, the more that we're impacted by the frequency and the vibration of these emotional black holes. And they're also the spaces that we try to fill when we reach out for a new relationship and we're looking for new people to accept us and receive us and love us. So, you know, we're kind of, I say this to so many of my clients that are healers and are coaches, and that we need to, as healers, as mentors, do the inner work ourselves. And I don't believe that we ever stop doing that work. I am my most ideal client, because if I haven't experienced these things and worked through them for myself, who am I to tell somebody what I know about that? I can't. You know, it's like saying I'm a weight specialist if I haven't known what it feels like to suffer from an eating disorder, or have lost 200 kilograms. So yeah, what's sort of coming on up for you? I see a couple of you live on the webcast. What are your views on black holes, and what are some of the things that trigger you? What would you like to know about how we can start to heal this together? Yeah, so another way that we fill the spaces of discomfort, of disease, is, you know, different kinds of ways we abuse ourselves: overeating, drinking too much, working too hard, all the aholisms, right? We try and fill ourselves up, or find people to fill us as if that will change the black hole, right? But all we're kind of doing is putting more and more into the hole that validates the truth of why you're feeling you have the reason and justification to stay in the dark. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I'm just checking what you're all saying here. So Yvonne, Violet, Allison, Acer, hi. What's your awareness, your insight? Anything going on for you right now around this anger? You know, how much of it is yours is another great question. You know, there's no anger or fear or lack or scarcity going on the planet right now. Hey, you know, it's just insane what's going on, and I think there's never been a greater time right now to actually start to look at how we can receive and process this universal energy, specifically of anger and blame and shame and regret, which are all there in one regard to be the catalyst to move us out of the lies, out of the programming. So they're not always distractors. You know, some people say those are distractor implants. I think if you know what they are, they're not there to distract you. They're there to get your attention. So I guess looking at it from, you know, where is the trauma? When, you know, where have you been really impacted by this frequency and vibration of your emotional black holes? And also to notice that that am I filling this from a place of awareness, of mindfulness, of consciousness in the inspired action, or am I doing it for a different reason? Yeah, codependency. Yeah, that's a big one, you know, and we all know that because we're told this over and over again, but this is about really digesting it and really letting that trickle back right into your cells to know that the only person that you can trust to tell you the truth is yourself. And when we are in relation, remember, relationship is actually the distance of separation between two things, the true definition of separation. So when you're asking for a better relationship with money, or you're asking for a better relationship with your partner, the energetic resonance of that in the black hole of I am alone, or I am lonely, or whatever it is that comes up for you is actually the distance of separation that you are putting. So the distance that you're putting between you and that thing that you want. So I think languaging is a really great way, hi Charmaine, to start to process and transmute this into a different wavelength, a new recalibration, where you get to know that I am so connected to everything. And also noticing what it is that you have perhaps been moving away from. We talked about this yesterday. What do you want? If you can't answer that question, not from a conclusionary reality, but really to get truthful and honest about what is it that I want, then you're always going to be looking outside of yourself for somebody to tell you what you need, right? And needing and wanting are totally different energies. Most definitions of need is a lack. You know, people that are needy are very attracted to earth elementals, people that are very high in earth energy, because they're natural caregivers. And a lot of time they become needy when they're not expressing their emotions, especially anger, in a healthy way. And this is where we start to see all these forms of addiction, right? I think that this writing is so small. I think that for some of us, anger is a pattern and there's a payoff for it. Yeah. Or we protect ourselves by putting up a wall of anger. Yeah. So all the hot walls, right? All the places where we actually defend our point of view and want to be right. So my question would be, would you rather be wrong and free than right and having to constantly defend your point of view? And again, we're told that to surrender, to actually, it's not submissive, but it's perceived as being submissive, that when we feel someone pushing an incredible amount of energy towards us because they want to be right, my daughter has been my greatest teacher with that one. She just goes, wow, Mom, You really want to be right. And that's that pattern interrupt that I wanted to share with you today. That's such a great way of actually being able to bring yourself out of this sort of seeing red moment of absolute rage and back into, into being sensory, finding what's really going on in your body, where you're feeling that in your body with the pattern interrupt, to go, wow, I really do want to be right, and then going into seeing what is it that's actually the lie that I'm trying to hold in place by being right? And maybe it's because someone said you were stupid when you were 3 years old, or made fun of you because you got something wrong, right? So what if there was no right or wrong? What if you could just choose to be free and let that person be right? And it's the best and fastest way that I know to get someone out of that is the pattern interrupt of not aligning and agreeing or resisting or reacting to what they're saying, but to being in that kindness, in that honoring space of perhaps feeling yourself getting angry at the bullshit they're talking about. Oh, nice. Now my gardeners, someone started to make a noise outside, but just being able to honor their truth and not have to buy it as true for you. Yeah. And it's Anastasia. Gosh. I feel that the energy of anger should be used in a positive way. Use the anger energy constructively. Absolutely. So, what are some of the ways, Anastasia, that you could be the catalyst of change? Anger isn't a negative or positive vibration. Anger is just that energy of the consciousness of moving toward the core. Right? So if you didn't have to look at how you're utilizing anger to move you forward, which is the consciousness of the liver and the gallbladder and the thymus, right, which is part of that wood element, without having to defend, what would it feel like for you to move that way and not have to be right about whether it's constructive for anybody else except you? Yeah, that's a great awareness. Yeah, and not needing to be in control. That's a huge one, Yvonne. Yeah, so again, where have we bought into that or defined control, or having to have controlling factors and manufactured points of view about how we control the environment, which is of course other people as well? What would change for you if you were out of control? Because that's the part we've been told by our nature of being human is the essence of survival, is to know when we can control, when to control, the paddles of your boat that we were talking about yesterday. You're in the flow and you get to control how you move your boat. All right, if you're going to go into a slipstream, is that going to make it easier for you? That would be the example of saying to somebody that can't hear you because they're so stuck in their point of view that you're wasting your breath, even trying to engage in some kind of conversation that could give them a spark of change. So beyond judgment, how much change and how much more kindness is it to actually allow that person to be right? Because then there's nothing to push against. Yeah. I'm healing from verbal emotional abuse. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I know what that's like. I have had that pattern of attracting narcissistic men into my life that are very much verbal abusers, very narcissistic, and in creating that kind of confusion in my body, in my nerves. So yeah. And when you don't express that anger in a healthy way, when it starts to show up and your body starts to nudge you, we lock up and limit our bodies, and we hurt ourselves, right? The body can only take so much, and animals are really good at showing us this. So yeah, being willing to be kind and gentle and to be that secure attachment when you're in that place of fear, to look at what is the feeling underneath the fear. You know, that's a great one too, because oftentimes we're just skimming the surface. So being able to look underneath that initial response to I am afraid in this moment of being out of control, to asking yourself, is it true? You know, is it really true that you are afraid, or are we misidentifying fear as excitement? Because that's something we do as well. You know, think back to the first time you learned to crawl, and you're kind of going for it and you're motoring along, and you look back to your primary caregiver, normally it's your mom or whoever's taking care of you, and you're seeing them sort of getting excited with you. But underneath that response, remember, we don't have a very strong vagal tone, that sloppy part of the vagus nerve isn't developed yet. So we have to borrow our primary caregiver's vagal tone. And underneath that, energy being our first line of communication, we sense that something's off, because we're in their heads then of going, oh my gosh, she's going to hurt herself. Not, oh wow, so super, go, you're crawling, go, I'm here to catch you if you fall. So a lot of times this is part of that adverse childhood experience where where the signals, the lines of communication are actually quite confusing. And oftentimes that's what's triggered later on in life, where we don't know why we're getting angry or frustrated, or, you know, sometimes this shows up as being rebellious, right? Where someone says you can't, and you go even though it puts yourself in danger, right? Because there's a part that's going, fuck you, I'm going to do it, because you weren't supported the first time you tried to crawl. And I'm just using that as a literal, as a really simple example. Yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. You know, this is so great. I'm going to try and do more of these, just on what's going on in my life and what's coming up for me on a daily basis, because this is what lights me up, and I get so much awareness by having these conversations and being able to speak to you like this. Yeah. So what would you like to know about anger and moving through anger in a way that really starts to empower you and give you back more of a sense of excitement about that life's one big messy experiment, you know? We're afraid to experiment. You think back to the last time when you just threw caution to the wind and you just went because you could, and your vision was bigger than your fear. So a great thing one of the great ways that I love to do this is to actually go deep into that place that is angry or in fear, and go, really acknowledge deep in my heart, deep in that place that's expanding, in my yes, in my I'm going to do this anyway, is even though I'm afraid, right? Even though I'm angry, hi Anjana, I'm going to do this. And one of the things that I love so much about this work with healing with trauma, and I'm so excited Anjana's joined the conversation, and she's great. She's a joyologist. She shows people how to find their happy spot, find their joy, find their bliss again. And I'm sure Anjana would agree with me in saying that sometimes we have to laugh at our own stupidity, but from a kind place of laughter really is the best medicine, when you can go, wow, what's the worst that could happen here? Even though I'm afraid, is it true for me? Byron Katie's work is fantastic in really questioning from that honest, truthful place of, is it true? And what's the worst thing that can happen to me? If I go there, is it going to kill me is a great question. And I always laugh because some of the things that make me pissed off in the moment are not going to kill me. No one's going to die. And it's a lot easier to move through rather than be right. So again, I think it's this fear of being wrong. So, yeah. Yeah. What is this fear of being wrong? What if there was nothing to be wrong about? What if everybody was entitled to just having their interesting point of view? And yeah, violent anger really affects the liver. The liver's there to purify the blood. It's there to purify the stuck. When energy gets stuck in the liver, it can create a lot of things. Remember, liver controls our blood volume. So when you start to have too much heat in your liver, when you start getting stagnant chi in your liver, all sorts of complications start happening in your body, from, you know, snapped tendons and ligaments. I remember a while back having so much, and it was before I knew this work, but I know now I had so much repressed anger building up in my system, and I was also in an abusive relationship where I felt so trapped that I couldn't run away from it. So what happened? I snapped my Achilles tendon, and if that wasn't bad enough, I couldn't run anymore, but I also didn't have the knowledge and the support that I have, and what I know now about the body and the mind, and how the body will follow the mind to help me to move through that in a healthy way. So I ended up snapping my left Achilles tendon twice in the matter of a year. I thought I'd never walk again. I was literally a prisoner in my own house with this narcissistic, abusive man. And a couple of years later, I snapped the other one too. So your body's going to literally give you a wake-up call when we're not expressing anger in a healthy way. Just remember, it's supposed to move us forward. So I'm just going to be mindful of the time today, because I do have a client in a minute. But yeah, here's an exercise that I'd love to share with you today, just to see the gift of doing some of the work on yourself. Remembering that, you know, when you get to experience and walk your talk and take your own medicine. My whole thing is be your own medicine. I want to empower people to know that they can change this for themselves. Yeah, being able, laughing at yourself, it's powerful. Yeah, kindness, it's a big deal. You know, we're not being cynical or narcissistic. Yeah, right. And Jana, maybe you can post a link to some of the work that you do, or give us a nice laughter clip as a little gift to this. I know you have you've created a beautiful set of happiness cards. So, you know, I would love it if you use this thread to just post us a daily dose of happiness medicine from your site. That would be absolutely great. Yeah, so quickly back to this exercise, and there's lots of ways that you can do this, but here's one that I really love to do, and it's really, you know, I can't tell you how much it's changed my relationships, not only with my body and with various aspects of my life and my family, but how it's changed things for my clients and my friends as well. And it's really simple. So all you need is a pen and a paper, and an open heart, actually, a place to be able to know that sometimes you are going to be the catalyst for change, because you're willing to stand in your truth and get angry and say, hey, this doesn't work for me. What else is possible here? So you might want to write that down, you know, when you're in conflict, or you feel anger coming up for you in regards to a person, or any kind of conflict, or when you're in a space where there's something ready to heal, something ready to resolve, is to be able to stand in your truth and notice where you feel that in your body, that trapped sense of that trigger, of whatever that is for you. And then ask yourself, is it even yours? Because that's a big one, right? A lot of times being empathetic, being highly sensitive, which we are, we're omnipresent, we're multisensory, and our first line of communication is always energy. So where do you feel that in your body? Notice where it is. Notice what the tension is without trying to change it. And then also ask yourself, is it even yours? So is this thought, feeling, or emotion? Is this attitude or belief mine? And if you get a yes, that it's yours, Then you can ask more questions. And you know, this shit works. I don't like to mess around. I don't do things in half measures. I'm an overgiver. So if you'd really like to do some of this work and look at some of your patterns and your triggers, here we go. Write down the story. So wherever you feel a charged emotion or feel triggered by someone else, and you get that it's yours, if it's not yours, bless it, thank it, return it to sender with consciousness attached. You don't need to know who it belongs to. Just let it go, right? Be grateful that you had the awareness, and be willing to be the alchemist that you truly are by just being able to send it back. Send it back to the person with consciousness attached so that they get to change if they choose to. It's not your responsibility, right? But the gift of doing this work like this on yourself is that we get to see our patterns and transform them and transmute them. And we also get to change and grow in direct proportion to how deep we're willing to go within ourselves to see the truth about what it is that's keeping us stuck in the same patterns. And this is where we stop over defending our thymus. We stop being overly defensive on our immune systems and making ourselves sick as a way, what we were talking about earlier, as a way to numb down and create another black hole on top of another black hole. So if you get it that it's yours, write down the story. It uses a different part of your brain. And this is why verbalizing, speaking it, having someone that can hold space and be witness to you, not to change anything, but just to observe that. Like I always say, if someone says I'm depressed, yes, you are. It's not for you to change it. It's just for you to hold space, to be witness for that person, to get underneath in exercises like this, to look at what's really going on underneath this identification or feeling of being in a state of depression, right? Instead of upliftment. Yeah. Okay. So a question you could ask yourself is, what's happening right now? What is this anger that's coming up in me? What does the anger want to show me? What's the story here that anger, as this beautiful consciousness facilitator, wants you to be aware of? And this is where you just go into that space of totally unmuted, uncensored, free writing, and just write down, I am feeling upset, or I am really feeling triggered by this thing. And you just write. Don't go back. Don't correct your spelling. Just let it all come out. Let rip. And don't forget to breathe. And then you want to go and identify the feeling, right? Because remember, we're not our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but we feel everything as omnipresent, sensory, living, breathing, feeling beings. We wouldn't be human if we didn't feel on some deeper level that connection of cosmic morphic resonance of an angry planet right now. I saw that there was a tornado somewhere in the East Rand yesterday, and we had these weird weather patterns. And how often do we actually say, oh my gosh, Mother Earth is angry right now? You know, bushfires that create anger. They're angry fires. Nature's trying to heal herself and balance herself all the time through a state of constant movement. So again, anger is one of those things that's supposed to move us forward. So step 2 is identify the feeling. After you've gotten out the story, uncensored, unmuted, you're going to start to notice that the feeling that you're having is going to be interwoven into your story. And it's important that you get the feeling out about this situation that you're feeling pissed off about or upset about. It's a different vibration. I hope I'm making sense. So here's another question that you could ask. So noticing where the feeling is in your body, where is the tension or the stuckness in your body? And then asking, how does this person or situation make me feel in this moment, right? Without rationalizing, without justification. All right, looks like I'm back. I hope this is still recording, but yeah, so we're talking about step 2 and looking at what's really going on underneath your sadness or your anger or your emotion, right? Yeah, a dog doesn't just bark because it wants to, right? It barks because it's a dog and it wants your attention. So what is the feeling underneath the story, underneath the feeling about this person, place, or situation, wanting you to look at that's under the surface? And to be clear, this isn't simply that I'm angry or I'm sad. I mean, really go deeper into that place, and you'll find that it's a particular part. A lot of times we hold tension in our jaws, is where we're told, bite your tongue, don't speak your truth, or we grind our teeth at night and we lock up the TMJs, which is our ability to speak, or further down, when we're not expressing our truth in a healthy way, we end up with thyroid issues, right? We blame our thyroid for everything because we're feeling muted or unable to speak our truth because it doesn't feel safe. Okay. Hi, Cease. Nice to have you here. You're never late. You're perfectly on time, and there'll be a replay on this. But thanks for joining us. Yeah, so we're up to 2. So remember, this is not about simply saying, "Oh, I'm angry" or "I'm sad." I want you to go deep and look at saying to yourself, "I'm really angry," owning it, because in this moment I feel like my partner doesn't appreciate me, or I'm feeling deeply depressed because I realize that I have trust issues with this person because I actually don't trust myself, right? Hi, Jackie. Hi, sweetie. Okay, so what's really going on underneath the sadness? Is there rejection? Is there anger there because you're beating yourself up because you knew from the get-go that person was going to betray you, right? And you went anyway. So, wow, take a breath. Yeah, go really, really deep on that step and write it down. Am I feeling upset because I never felt heard, or I never felt like anybody took me seriously? All the labels about, oh, you're so funny, or you're so crazy. Oh, you're the crazy one in the family. All these little things that were said and jaced as a child. There's so many of them that oftentimes will get triggered when you're ready to move forward and change it. And then you start to get to, wow, it's not true that I'm not enough. I've always been good enough. It's just that the people around me couldn't see that, and it's okay. Forgiveness is such a big part of this. So I think you get the idea. Number 3, okay? 3. Huh? 3? is the big part. And that is, after you've identified the feelings that are coming up for you, I want you to ask yourself this one powerful question. Okay, so take a breath, don't forget to breathe. Okay, you're going to go backward, right? You're going to hit rewind on this projector. Remember, there's a part of the brain that is the projector, and it's literally superimposing all these stories and these thoughts and these feelings onto your present from the past. So you're never living your life in the present when you're stuck in the story. And I want you to ask yourself, who used to make me feel this way when I was a child? Who made me feel this way when I was a child? Useless, stupid, not enough, didn't take you seriously. Okay, look at the feeling that starts to come up now as you look back on your life story. Was it your mom? Was it your dad? Was it a sibling? Was it someone at school? Was it a bully? Was it a friend? Was it a caretaker? Who used to do or say the things that made you feel this way too? Because this is when we start to get to the root cause. This is the resolution of getting out of the story, the victimology of I'm stupid, I'm a terrible money manager. I can't hold on to money because maybe somebody told you that you couldn't handle money or that you weren't worthy of money. So a lot of the money story and our abuse with money is often tied back into these old adverse childhood experiences, right? Yeah, and the truth is that the reason we get triggered in the first place is because the current situation, right, whatever's triggering you now, is activating or reminding you of an unresolved trauma, like these old stories that are seemingly harmless. You know, sitting around a dinner table is a classic one of sitting at an obligatory family dinner table, where everybody doesn't really like each other. You know, this is extended family, or you know, your mother and father are having hassles, but everyone's trying to pretend that they love each other. And later on, when we're adults, we wonder why we're all drinking ourselves into a stupor or eating ourselves into a space of numbness around a dinner table, so that we don't have to receive all this judgment and the unspoken hurt that's just been swept under the carpet. You know, can you relate to that? I know I can in my life. The unresolved parts that are ready to heal, you know, and they're sitting there going, oh, you know, we might not have money, but at least we have each other. And you get this distorted perception of what love looks like. That later translates into how you let people into your life that abuse you, or how you can't handle money, or how you never will allow yourself to have money because you're told that, oh, you know, we might not have money, but at least we have each other. You know, it's pretty screwed up. So, it's not always easy. But once you start to really see your triggers and your patterns, that's where the deep healing really begins, and you can start transforming this by being able to identify the pattern, because it's going to keep coming up. You know, the beautiful part is that you just don't get hooked into it. You can start to move through it and grow through it and stop repeating it, and that's, you know, where we're trying to get to here. So oftentimes we're not really upset about what we think we're upset about. You know, bottom line is, I wasn't angry about anything in particular yesterday. What I thought I was angry about actually was just my old money story around, you know, my family. Remember, my acronym for most families might not apply to you, but family is fucked up and mainly interested in limiting you. So thank your family for doing a great job. They're there to limit you because you're predictable when you're limited. Right? It's the control thing that one of you was talking about earlier on. Oh, great, Yvonne. I'm so glad it's helpful. I feel like I'm rambling on and on, but I'm going to end in a minute. But yeah, thank you for being here to receive this. Yeah, so, you know, I've found in my own mastery, because I think it's ongoing all the time, and I'm just peeling layers and layers and layers of past abuse and past trauma, and I'm going deep into these black holes, realizing that I don't have to get them all. I just have to get one of the big ones. You might want to go and find that blog. I might post it on the link below, where I talked about bad clusters, not from good or bad, but like oftentimes you'll find you have one huge big traumatic story, and then you'll have lots of these other similar stories that become like these clusters of the same resonance vibration that's around, oh yeah, you see, there I go again. You know, I'm never going to find a man that can see me for me because I'm not worthy of love, or I'm stupid, or whatever it is for you. And yeah, so what I found is that usually in going to the root cause resolution of this, and obviously this is a big topic, but just for today, right? It's not normally about the present thing that's happening, even though I think it is, right? It's activities around the past, about things that were stuck in their action, right? Just get over it. The same thing happens when someone falls down or hurts themselves, or a child hurts themselves, and we rush over and we pick them up and we tell them not to cry, right? Instead of letting their nervous system come down in a healthy way where they actually get to cry from the shock of falling off their bike or hurting their knee. They get to reset their nervous system in a healthy way instead of getting stuck on and being told, okay, it's not safe to cry. Right? So we're hurting ourselves right from the get-go, and it's not our fault. So remember, none of this is your fault, and it's totally doable to change it and turn it around. And you can start to do this if you're willing to go deep, right? If you're willing to get under the story and actually say, you know, what's really going on here? What's really upsetting me? And am I willing to get really honest and truthful in the story? That's the power of the parable, to be able to tell a story without the emotional trigger, so that you get to inspire other people to know that it's just a story. There's no emotional charge on it anymore, right? And that's how you start to bring yourself into living in the present moment, not living from the child part that's still trapped in the story, in the trauma of the time when Johnny said, or mom said, or your ex-partner told you were, you know, fat and useless and stupid. Because when you're told that enough times, you start to believe it. And, you know, for me, I was there. I totally get what Violet was saying about these, you know, insidious verbal abuse. It's a very insidious form of narcissistic control. But you can get through it if you have the support. And the fourth and final thing I want to leave you with is that in this exercise, once you've identified this deeper layer, right? Because there could be more layers underneath it, but just for this exercise today, notice that once you've got underneath that deeper layer of where this trigger has come from, I suggest that you spend some time with yourself, just some quiet time with your heart, because there's likely a little girl there who wasn't seen or wasn't met by one or two of her parents, and you are now going to be the secure adult for her. You're going to be the wise elder that hears her story, and you are going to do this work. You're going to hold sacred space for her and tell her that she had every right to be angry. No one else can do it for you, but you can be the adult for your child parts. And ask yourself, you know, what can you learn from this child? And how do you, as the adult, need to take care of yourself, that radical self-care? And who do you need to forgive? You know, a lot of times when I go through this process with my clients, I often go into the forgiveness part and remind them that you don't have to forgive the behavior, but you can forgive the person, right? Because they were doing the best that they could. And just take that space, that gentle, kind, loving space, beyond judgment, because you're going to judge yourself. You'll judge the shit out of yourself. You've been doing a good job for, I don't know, your whole life. So take some time to just sit in that space of deep caring for your wounded child parts, right? And talk, and then when you're ready, you know, if you feel like you can't go there, and you feel like perhaps you'd want to talk this out with someone that you can really trust, someone who really sees you and sees that part of themselves in you that's ready to heal, reach out and be gentle and kind and compassionate with yourself, because that's the way that we really start to heal the wounded parts of ourselves. And I would love, love, love to hear from you. I would love to know what comes up. I mean, this sounds like a really simple exercise, but it's big and it's deep. So, you know, please post your experiences around this exercise or below, or let me know your comments and questions. You know, tell me what you've uncovered within yourself. I personally respond to all my mail, and if you'd like to go deeper into this this process of healing your root cause trauma, I would be honored to take you through my mindfulness change process and just have a chat with you. So if you'd like to just know what's a fit for you, if this resonates with you and you'd like to know how you could work with me in the future, book a 30-minute clarity to healing breakthrough session with me. There's no obligation to work with me. It's just a beautiful way that I get to give back and honor and see you for the woman that you are. And the sooner that we all heal ourselves, the sooner we all do this work, the sooner we get to create a new planet that absolutely thrives, because we know what it's like to be compassionate and caring for us. So if that interests you, I've opened up a couple of spots for the next 2 weeks. I'm back in the home office. I'm back rearing to upgrade and give more to you, because this work matters to me. So I want to thank you for joining me. I look forward to hearing about your experience with this little exercise. And if you have any insights on how you move through triggers, and you'd like to contribute to the people that are ready to share and ready to receive, post it below. You know, I'm all for community and support. And I want to just say I love you. I see you. I send you blessings. Be amazing, because you are. And have a great rest of your day. Lots of love. Bye.